Neha Patel had always believed she was living the American dream. After moving from Mumbai to New Jersey following her arranged marriage to Raj Mehta, her life seemed picture-perfect. Raj was a charismatic and driven businessman who had quickly climbed the ladder of success in the tech world. He made good money, they owned a beautiful home in a quiet suburban neighborhood, and they had 2 children who went to good schools and played piano on weekends. From the outside, everything looked ideal. Neha had given up her own career in marketing when she moved to the US, choosing instead to dedicate herself to building a stable, loving home. Her days were filled with organizing school runs, planning meals, and making sure Raj had everything he needed to succeed. To Neha, this was love. This was sacrifice. And this was what marriage meant. Raj's schedule was always busy, sometimes overflowing. He often came home late and was glued to his phone even at dinner. Neha never questioned it. She assumed it was the price of ambition. She had grown up seeing men put work above everything, and she believed her role was to be supportive and patient. So, when Raj started taking business trips more frequently, she didn't complain. When he left on weekends, saying he had investor meetings, she simply packed his bags and kissed him goodbye. But the small signs began to surface. At first, it was just a receipt from a hotel she hadn't heard of, stuffed inside the pocket of his jeans. She dismissed it. Maybe a last-minute booking, she thought. But then came the red lipstick stain on his white shirt. Neha didn't even own lipstick, let alone in that shade. Her hands trembled as she scrubbed it out, her mind racing but still not ready to accept what it might mean. Over the next few days, Neha began noticing other strange things. Raj started locking his phone. He stepped out of the room to take calls. He began dressing differently, wearing cologne he hadn't used in years. Neha's instincts were screaming, but she silenced them. She didn't want to be the paranoid wife. She told herself that trust was essential in marriage. She told herself that Raj loved her, and that she was overthinking. But something inside her had shifted. The seed of doubt had been planted, and it refused to die. Then, one quiet Sunday evening, everything changed. Raj claimed he had a last-minute client dinner in the city. Neha felt something deep inside her snap. Without telling anyone, she got into her car 10 minutes after he left and followed him. Her hands were sweating, her heart racing. She didn't know what she expected to find, but what she saw confirmed what her heart already knew. From a distance, she watched as Raj pulled into the driveway of a high-end apartment building. A woman in her 20s walked out and embraced him before they disappeared inside together. Neha's stomach turned, but she didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just sat in her car, frozen, staring at the front door. She took out her phone and snapped a photo. In that moment, her perfect world didn't just break, it shattered. The next morning, Neha woke up before dawn. She had barely slept, but her mind was sharp. The image of Raj walking into that apartment with another woman played on repeat in her head. There was no more doubt, no more rationalizing. Her marriage had been invaded by a lie, and now she had a decision to make. She could pretend it never happened, keep the peace for the sake of the children, and carry on with the illusion. Or she could quietly take control, not with rage or drama, but with cold, calculated purpose. Neha chose the latter. She understood that reacting emotionally would only give Raj the upper hand. What she needed now was a plan, not tears. She started with his phone. Over the years, Raj had occasionally backed up his data on their shared home computer. Neha, who had always been tech-savvy, began digging through old folders and backups. Buried deep in one of the cloud drives, she found traces of conversations, flirty messages, dinner reservations, and even travel bookings to places she had never been invited to. She saved everything, organizing each piece of evidence neatly in a new folder on her desktop labeled Truth. It wasn't just about catching him anymore. It was about building a solid case, one that couldn't be twisted or denied. Each file was dated, documented, and preserved. By midweek, Neha had enough to fill a binder. But she didn't stop there. She hired a private investigator, paying him in cash from her personal savings. He worked fast and returned with shocking information. Raj had not only been cheating, but he had also opened a hidden joint account with the woman. Her name was Amanda, a former intern who now worked at Raj's tech company. They were renting the apartment together under Amanda's name, funded partly by money siphoned from a business account that was legally tied to Neha through their marriage. That was the final straw. Her trust had been betrayed, her life mocked, and her contributions erased. But Neha didn't crumble. She took a deep breath and called a divorce attorney the same day. Her lawyer was precise, experienced, and well known for handling high-stakes separations. Neha handed over all her evidence. The attorney's eyes widened as she scrolled through the digital folder, nodding slowly. Neha had done her homework. Within 24 hours, emergency legal motions were filed. Raj's hidden accounts were frozen. A forensic accountant was brought in to trace any misused funds. Everything Raj thought he had hidden was now out in the open, and he had no idea. Neha continued playing her role as the devoted wife at home, but every day she was preparing for a storm that only she knew was coming. She made no sudden moves, spoke no harsh words. Her silence became her strategy. She was no longer a woman in shock, she was a woman in control. And by the end of the week, her next step to its core. Raj remained oblivious to the quiet war unfolding in his own home. He still came and went as he pleased, offering vague explanations and manufactured smiles. Neha played her part perfectly. She packed his lunch every morning, laughed at his dry jokes during dinner, and kissed him goodnight without hesitation. He didn't suspect a thing. But behind her calm expression was a woman building a revolution. Every step she took was measured. Every decision had a purpose. She wasn't just reacting to betrayal, she was designing her response with the precision of a master strategist. Neha knew that emotional outbursts would only give Raj a chance to play the victim or twist the narrative. Instead, she focused on structure and timing. Her lawyer had advised her to keep her behavior unchanged to avoid tipping him off before all the legal pieces were in place. So she smiled during family dinners, attended school meetings with him, and even posted a cheerful family photo on social media. It was all camouflage. Behind the scenes, her legal team was building a divorce case so strong that Raj would have no room to negotiate. Neha also began to organize her financial independence. She opened her own bank account, transferred a small but legal portion of their joint funds, and discreetly updated her resume. Within days, she secured a remote consulting job through a contact back in Mumbai. It wasn't about the money. It was about regaining the identity she had set aside for marriage. Every email she sent, every meeting she attended, was a step toward reclaiming the power she once gave away so freely. Meanwhile, the private investigator continued to feed her information. Amanda, the mistress, had not only been in a relationship with Raj, but she had also received unauthorized promotions and bonuses at his company. This wasn't just infidelity. It was professional misconduct. Neha now had grounds not only for divorce but also for damaging Raj's business reputation. Her attorney began drafting a formal complaint that would be ready to send to the board of Raj's company the moment the divorce papers were filed. But Neha had one more move in mind, something Raj wouldn't see coming. She compiled all the digital evidence, the financial records, the photos, the messages, and the investigators' reports into one organized Dropbox folder. She created a cover page titled "For Full Transparency," and wrote a calm, factual timeline detailing everything Raj had done over the past 6 months. There were no angry words or emotional language, just the facts, laid bare. The folder was private for now, but she had plans for it.by the 7th day. Everything was in place. Legal motions filed. Assets protected. Evidence secured. Her job lined up. Her mind steady. Raj still believed And the impact was coming fast. The night of Raj's birthday arrived with an air of celebration. The house was spotless, filled with warm lights, the smell of catered food, and the hum of polite conversation. Friends, family, and business associates filled their living room, sipping wine and praising the success of the man everyone believed had it all. Neha moved through the crowd gracefully, thanking guests, refilling drinks, and exchanging pleasantries as if nothing in her world had changed. Her poise was absolute. To an outsider, she was the proud wife hosting a perfect evening. Only she knew that the event was not a celebration, it was a finale. The evening unfolded with laughter and polite chatter. Speeches were made, toasts were raised, and Raj stood in the center of it all, smiling as if he were untouchable. But Neha watched him with a steady gaze, no longer clouded by love or confusion. She didn't feel nervous. She felt calm, grounded by the certainty that what was about to happen was not revenge, it was truth finally finding its voice. As dessert was being served, Neha tapped a spoon gently against a glass. The room quieted. She stood next to Raj, smiling softly, and thanked everyone for coming. Her tone was composed, her expression kind. Then she said that she had prepared something special for Raj. Something meaningful. A short video, a tribute to their journey together. Guests leaned in, expecting a sweet montage of family memories. The lights dimmed. The screen on the wall came alive, but not with baby photos or vacation clips. Instead, the opening image was a time-stamped photo of Raj entering Amanda's apartment. Then came a series of screenshots, messages exchanged, travel bookings, bank transfers. Every image was clear, organized, and undeniable. Gasps rippled through the room. People looked at each other, unsure of how to respond. Raj stood frozen, his smile fading as he realized what was happening. The final slide was a link, a Dropbox folder titled, "For Full Transparency." The silence was heavy. Neha turned to the crowd and said nothing more. She simply nodded and walked out of the room, leaving the stunned guests to process what they had just seen. The whispers began immediately. Some people walked out in awkward silence. Others stayed, glancing at Raj with a mixture of shock and quiet judgment. Within the hour, the Dropbox link had been opened on multiple phones, shared across group chats, and forwarded to coworkers. By morning, it would be everywhere. 6 months later, Neha's world looked entirely different. The house she had once shared with Raj was sold, the final step in dividing the marital assets. She now lived in a modern apartment in downtown Jersey City, smaller but filled with peace and a sense of control she hadn't felt in years. Her days no longer revolved around someone else's schedule. Instead, she filled them with purpose, raising her children, managing her new career, and rediscovering the person she had buried beneath years of quiet compromise. After the public reveal, the story spread like wildfire. The Dropbox folder was shared across professional networks, neighborhood groups, even local media forums. While Neha had never intended to humiliate Raj for attention, the reality of his double life drew intense public interest. The company's board responded quickly. Amanda was fired, and Raj was placed on leave pending an internal investigation. Within a few weeks, he stepped down quietly, citing personal reasons. His spotless image was permanently stained. The whispers never stopped. Business deals evaporated. Former allies became distant. The man who once moved through boardrooms with arrogance now struggled to reclaim his footing. Neha, on the other hand, began to rise. Her consulting work quickly turned into something larger. She launched an online platform that offered strategy sessions and emotional support for women facing betrayal and divorce, particularly in immigrant communities where silence and shame often prevailed. The response was overwhelming. Her inbox flooded with messages from women across the country, thanking her for speaking out. Some shared similar stories, others asked for guidance. What began as a personal healing process grew into a mission. Her platform, Reclaiming Dignity, became a powerful voice on social media. She was invited to speak at women's conferences and community panels. Her story was not just about a cheating husband, it was about reclaiming agency after years of invisibility. She focused on helping women rebuild themselves with dignity, strategy, and silence that spoke louder than screams. She never named Raj directly in interviews. She didn't need to. Her story was enough. Raj attempted to reach out several times, calls, emails, even a handwritten letter delivered through a mutual friend. Neha never responded. She didn't block him, but she also gave him nothing. Her silence was not out of bitterness but clarity. She had moved on, and going backward held no appeal. The past had served its purpose. It had built the foundation for her transformation. Neha's children, once shielded from the storm, began to see their mother differently. Not as someone who lost something, but as someone who rose after the fall. Her quiet strength, her calm choices, and her unshaken. Neha had not just survived the betrayal, she had used it to carve a new path. In a world where women are often told to endure, she had chosen to act. Her revenge was never rage. It was reinvention. And in that, she had won completely.